First of all, thank you for inviting us to present our work. I just want to check whether my colleague Lorenza, whether we can hear her as well.
Hi, Alex. Can you hear me?
Brilliant. That's fine. Okay, so my name is Alexandra Lautarescu, and I'm a PhD student at King's College London. And I'm presenting today with Lorenza, who's a PhD student from Erasmus Medical Center. So for the past few months, we've worked on a short guide that's called What Senior Academics Can Do to Support Reproducible and Open Research. And this is going to come out as a preprint sometimes in the next few weeks, but we're going to give you a short sneak peek today. So there you go. So as we have all heard this morning, and I'm not going to go into it, academia does have a problem with its incentive structure. The misalignment between what's good for research and what's good for researchers is thought to be the root cause of the reproducibility crisis. However, we do see that this is changing, and we do have a lot of policies that are being introduced to reward and incentivize open research, like top-down initiatives like DORA or Plan S or the TOP guidelines. So we thought about the fact that for open research to become the norm, we need senior academics to support this, because they're involved in all stages of research, if you think about it, from supervision to peer review to journal editing, and they're also instructing institutional policies. However, while early career researchers have embraced open research, senior academics have voiced concerns about unique challenges that they're facing, and they are important to address. So things like, the lack of time or resistance from colleagues. So we were inspired by Florian Markowitz's paper on 5 selfish reasons to work reproducibly, and thought about the fact that senior researchers, like all researchers, are motivated by self-interest. So in this paper, we lay out 3 feasible steps that senior academics can take to improve the quality and productivity of their research that also serve to engender open research. So we will discuss changes in hiring and promotion, funding and publishing, and changes in authorship.
So the first of these steps is a change in hiring and promotion criteria. And as was discussed also before, we know that these are mostly based on teaching, publications, and funding. However, these criteria are not necessarily fit for purpose, as they do not reward rigorous and reproducible research, which takes more time. So what about open research? With such criteria, scientists that do open research are more likely to be overlooked, unfortunately. And unless open research practices are particularly outlined in a job description, it is also hard for these academics to identify specific departments which would be a good fit for them. So while open research practices do require greater time investment, there are also increasing benefits of open research, and these range from credit for open peer review to publications, regardless of the results for register reports. The move towards a more open research framework would involve the inclusion of open research practices in hiring and promotion. But of course, there are several considerations that need to be made. Different levels of commitment can be adopted, as was proposed by Chris Chambers and Felix Schonbrot. And moreover, certain open research practices may be considered as more relevant than others, and this depends on the field. And lastly, the academic level of the applicant should be taken into account because for instance, more junior academics typically have less freedom within their research. Also, practical examples of academic job offers mentioning open science are already present on OSF, and they will also be built upon in a survey that we will soon conduct. Moving on, we have step 2, change how we credit publications. As we previously saw, publications are one of the main currencies for career advancement, and this means that authorship in a publication is key in one's academic future. However, the current authorship system is hampered by several issues, and firstly, authorship disputes account for 6 to 8% of paper retractions, and they are also linked to poor mental health and lower staff retention. Secondly, the authorship model overlooks less traditional, but yet important contributions from, for example, statisticians and librarians. And finally, as collaborations grow increasingly larger, Authorship related issues are also more likely to increase. To mitigate these issues, contributorship models have been suggested, and perhaps the most widely adopted one of these is the contributor roles taxonomy, CREDIT, which is a consensus-based classification system distinguishing 13 contributor roles. This includes also less traditional roles such as validation of output for reproducibility. Roles can also be easily documented through Tenzing, which is a newly created web-based app that produces a CREDIT-compatible manuscript for publication. And on the right of the slide, you can also see an example of CREDIT from our own guide. So you can see there it's quite simple to make one. There are several benefits to using CREDIT. For instance, individual contributions of researchers working in large teams are recognized, and this is likewise for traditional less traditional contributions, as we previously discussed. Moreover, CREDIT can help the identification of potential collaborators, reviewers, and experts for a given topic.
So lastly, we wanted to highlight changes in publishing and funding. So as more and more organizations are including open research practices in their initiatives and policies, adoption of open research is no longer just for the greater good, but it actually gives academics a competitive advantage. So for example, certain open research practices like open access and open data, like we've heard earlier today, are often mandatory for receiving funding or publishing in certain journals. And some funders have even withdrawn funding if these conditions have not been met. And funders have also started to recognize preprints, data sets, open software and open materials as research outputs that are taken into consideration during grant applications. Also, many journals are now encouraging pre-registration, supporting register report formats, or offering open science badges to signal methodological quality. So we hope that these examples can highlight the fact that it is in the best interest of senior academics to introduce open research practices into their workflow. So if you're interested, we're not going to have time to go through it now, but you can read our paper for a list of resources to track funding and journal policies related to open research. So again, this is a really quick sneak peek, but Lorenza has done some wonderful work collecting data for some funding websites, and our paper contains a list of funding opportunities that reward or support open research. So as you can see from these few examples, there's an increasing number of funding opportunities for anything from replication studies to data reuse to covering open access fees. And these opportunities are likely to continue to increase as widespread adoption of open research practices becomes more common. So because we can't, don't have the space or time to discuss all the research practices, we chose to focus on preprints, just as an example. So preprints have actually been increasingly supported by funders and journals because they increase readership and citation and allow information to reach the public faster. And they can also now be cited and referenced in applications for funding and for the ref. So one of the main concerns of senior academics when it comes to preprints is scooping, but preprints are actually a solution to scooping because they have a timestamp and a DOI, and a lot of journals have actually used them to decide novelty among competing submissions.
So in conclusion, there is no magic formula, but we propose 3 practical steps as one of the ways in which senior researchers can engender open research. These are changes in hiring, crediting, and publishing and funding. All of these come with their benefits and with better science. Our preprint with more details, as Alex already mentioned, will be soon available. And in the meantime, we are encouraging feedback and looking forward to hearing your thoughts. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.